Development blog part 2. We're going to talk about the connection rule. When you summon something, if you cannot put it in a square next to you, you may spawn it in a square next to something you have summoned, as long as no squares are empty between you and the nearest summoned thing. So you can form a connection that way. The stack rule. You can combine cards that are face up once for each point of move speed you spend from your speed stat. Trade 1 square of movement for each 2 cards that become 1. Cards will have a max stack number, which means you can not have more than that many of one card combined into one square. For example, arrows have max stack 10, so you cannot have more than 10 arrows in one card. And here's an example of a monster that has a max stack square. So you can have a bunch of these little snakes all squirming around in one square. The carrying capacity rule: you cannot carry more than 50 kilograms plus 5 kilograms for every 1 point of the guts stat you have. I might make it less than 50 kilograms. That's still kind of something that might change. Party casting: that is an action you can do. A member of your party or yourself can use their action to do party casting until end of turn. You can use the elemental tokens of the party the person that cast the party. The person that used the party casting action, regardless of distance. A plot device is a subtype of card that does not occupy a square when you put it on the map, but it stays on a unit. You can put it on yourself or another unit. Resistances and weakness. An example of a resistance is being fully armored grants you 1 less damage. You take 1 less damage from pierce/crush/cut types of damage, and you can be resistant to hybrid damage types, such as an attack that does cut and fire type damage. If you have cut and fire type resistance, yet it only reduces damage with cut/. So if you had a resistance that said you are resistant to cut/fire, and an attack does 2 cut/fire, you only reduce it by 1 for that hybrid resistance. No, basic cards. These are cards that do not have a rarity symbol, such as a circle, triangle. That wasn't a triangle. It's hard to make a triangle with one hand. Or a star, which means rare. So the basic cards, there's no limit to how many you can have in your deck. So an example of that is food or arrows. You can fill that in as much as your deck as you want. And there's no limit to 4 like there are with the normal cards that are not basic cards. Card subtypes continued. The plant can use the photosynthesis action to take in light and gain a token. And at 3 tokens, you remove them all and regain 1 lost hit point. And for example, if there's nothing above you like shade or a building, you could do this, but if there's like darkness or something like that, you couldn't use the action as a plant. Most plants have 0 speed, so this is something to like kind of balance it out and make them more powerful. There's herbivores and carnivores. Herbivores cannot absorb or consume meat or meat-based cards, and carnivores cannot absorb plants or eat plants. Undead. Undead can take in dark type energy to heal, and most undead can only eat meat like zombies. And they also cannot receive heals from sources other than darkness or a dark type card. And I've got some lore here. The undead are unholy abominations that cannot receive heal unless absorb darkness, much like how monster/object cards need to absorb or use a repair card. Sorry, the monster/object. So an object type unit, such as a robot, can't heal from healing magic. It needs to have someone like use a repair on them. Spell speed. There's different kinds of spells in my game. Here's an example of one of the ones you can use quickly. The Ace of Cups. Heal an adjacent unit for 3. It just says spell up there. So the different types are the anytime cast spell, where it just says spell. There's an action one, which requires your action in conjunction of using the spell to be able to cast that, so you can only do it on your turn. There's the whole turn type, which means you can't move and you have to use your action. And then there's telegraphed, which is you begin casting at the and you can't move, and it doesn't end casting until the start of your next turn. So your enemies have a chance to like run away or use a spell to like get further away. So these are normally more powerful. When I was designing this, I was thinking a lot about Dragon Ball Z and how they like take a really long time to power up like a Kamehameha beam or a Spirit Bomb. So that's kind of the inspiration for telegraphed. All right, now we're going to go into some of the cards. I'll show you my notes. I got a huge book pile here. So protagonist card, Animist. You see how I have the top on the side there, 1 and 1 of any element. So it's $1 and 1 of any element in particular. I bumped it up so that it's 10 wealth, and it used to be 1 and then decimal points of wealth. But in playtesting, multiple people didn't like that, so I had to change a lot of cards that I had already made in Photoshop. So yeah, that's the thing. Ideas, they sound good in your head, and then you execute them, and then everyone is like, "This is terrible," and then you kind of have to like patch it or rehaul things entirely. So I've got the chef card here. He can use his action to combine 1 meat and 1 plant food to create a meat card. I might change this so that it's from the hand. You don't have to have the cards on the field he can combine both and then put the meal in front of you, or if you have to actually have them both on. Yeah. And there's the Hungry Chef. He's like a more powerful version. He's bigger, and he has +1 absorb. I mentioned in the previous video that you add cards, you can add food or wealth that's on the field into a card and add it to your deck and shuffle it in by using the absorb action. And units that have 2 absorb written on them means they can do this 2 times in a turn. The Channeler card. This unit is a magician type unit that can absorb directly to the hand if you're absorbing an elemental source. So you can't add like a food right to the hand, but if there's, let's say, an earth type beacon, the channeler can use their action to bring the elemental energy directly to the hand instead of having to try and draw it from the deck. Wind Animator can use 1 wind token in a turn to cause something summoned by you to spawn up to 5 squares further away. So what's written on the actual card is they have to use their action and spend 1 wind element to be able to allow things to go further. The Philosopher card will... it's different from what I'm here, but I can tell you from memory what it is now. The Philosopher lets you use your action and discard a card to create a scroll, and when you use your action to read the scroll, you can gain 1 element of any type. The Chaos Magician can use your elemental tokens to pay for cards and effects of different type requirements, such as use wind to pay for water. One iteration of this is this guy I made called Zern Chaos Magician. He's like an insect type guy in a robe, and he lets you use he uses the party casting action, and he starts off with a fire type element on him. And he has a special ability that reads, when he uses the party casting action, you can use the elements he gives you as any kind. Alright, I think I want to get into the tarot card inspired ones now. I'm going to go past a bit here. The Ace of Pentacles is an earth type spell, and it allows you to add 1 wealth and draw a card, or 10 wealth now. It's been, as I mentioned, errated up the scale of times 10. The Two of Pentacles lets you add 2 wealth. That one, I can tell you need to use your action to be able to cast that spell. And the Page of Pentacles, how I originally conceived of how the pages work is you look for 4 pentacle type cards, and you and your opponent take turns putting them on top of the deck. But I realized that is so much of bogging the game down and slowing it that I changed it to you just look for 1 and you put it on top of the deck, because if you have to stop every time and then look, it's like a good idea in theory, but in execution it just bogs the game down way too much. 3 of Pentacles. Absorb 1 Earth token card to the deck. Gain 1 Earth token. Gain 10 wealth. I changed that so that you can add 1 Earth token to the hand, so that Earth token can be used. You play it so that other units in your party can actually gain that element. I'll show some of the actual cards here. This isn't like the final product. This is just printed from a printer. This guy is really sad about his 1 cup being spilled, but so he's not noticing the 4 behind him. And this is one of my favorite tarot cards, the 8 of Pentacles. In this one, it's give a wearable object 1 armor. It costs 1 wealth and 1 earth type element. So you're like working away, or like infusing a piece of armor, or even a non-armor wearable object. You could gain armor this way. Can talk a bit about the sword suit. The Ace of Swords. It's I originally had that as to add a sword type card from the deck to the hand, but now it just does cut type damage to an adjacent unit. It's a spell that will help you like take out a small enemy or combo for a bunch of damage if you're like trying to finish someone off or bring them low or whatever. 2 of Swords. Add 2 sword cards to your hand. This card like lets you add actual physical swords, which cost 20 wealth, and add 2 damage to a melee attack. And each weapon or object in the game has hit points. Not every object necessarily has armor, but they have hit points. And kilograms weight as well. So the gut stat not only helps you resist spells, it helps you carry more. And the idea I have to add more cards to the game is that help the gut stat is stone armor that weighs a lot but's cheaper. So if you want to use a lot of these, you're going to be like really slowed down, you can't move, but if you have high gut stat, you can wear them and make use of these cheaper things that weigh like a comical amount. Three of Swords. Absorb 1 air token card to the deck. Gain 1 air token. During this turn, you can use agility for wit costs. Yeah, this one... Sorry, wit costs. That's... Again, the final product is a bit different. That just means... During this turn, you can use your agility for wit-based attacks, which would normally be you shoot a bow, you add your wit to the how much total damage you do. This card will be good for melee type users who want to use a bit of ranged, so you can build up your agility really high and then still be able to like fire a bow and do like a bunch of damage without having to train your wit up. The 4 of Swords is gain 1 agility. And each suit, like the cups, 4 of Cups is gain 1 intuition. The fire 4 of Wands is gain 1 wit. It's kind of different for the earth type one. The Strength tarot card gives you 1 guts, and the 4 of Pentacles is a teleportation type spell. I want to talk about the knights. There's the Knight of Swords. What I have written here for what he does is when you put him on the map, each living being around you chooses sword or mace, and they get a sword or mace card added to their hand. So if it was like a 2v2 battle, you could help your allies. But this guy, he just lets you add a sword card to your hand now. I kind of changed it around a bit because that was kind of hard to balance. The Queen of Swords has a continuous effect of giving nearby allies +1 agility. So she's pretty strong. Might be a good one to play as if you wanted to choose her to roleplay as. The King of Swords, he's stronger with the agility. He's faster. He has more size, so more hit points. He allows you to have +1 hand size, so you can carry more cards in your hand. He's a warrior type human. The other guys are more like magical. The King of Pentacles, when you play him, he has some size and some speed to him. He's not as much of a powerful warrior, but he lets you search your deck for an earth type unit to add to the hand. I wanted it to be really inspired and like based on like the lore and mythology of tarot cards. I showed the Ace of Cups one. The Page of Cups is all the pages let you search for a card of their type. A segue there about to talk about the rarity system. The pages are actually uncommon type, and the knights are common type cards. You might think it would be the other way around, but when you're thinking about designing your own card game, it's not necessarily going to be about the most big strong guy is going to be the uncommon, and like the little weaker guys are going to be uncommon. You also have to design it around the frequency that you want these cards to be played. The pages are uncommon because I don't want people to have to be searching the deck at the same frequency. And you can kind of, if you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, you would see how much that could slow down the game if people are doing that two or three or four times as much. So that's something to keep in mind if you're making your own game. All right, I think that wraps it up about this. I want to talk about a lot of different things, but I'll try and keep it concise and have the different videos be themed for different things.